Ah, Joe, moldavite, one of the meteorite crystals. Very expensive, very beautiful. So here's how to actually work with it. Because I'm not just going to make that video and say like, oh, you got to work with crystals. You can't just like expect them to change you. You actually have to be open to the change. I'm going to show you how I work with crystals. So one of the first things that I'm going to do with my crystals is wash it. That's either going to be in water or with some kind of smoke. It could be sage, sweetgrass, palo santo, whatever. The water and the smoke, what we're doing is we're using one of the elements. You can also like bury the crystal for a little bit and then dig it back up. Anyway, we're using some elements to infuse some sort of intention. And the intention is cleansing. You want to cleanse your crystals, okay? Plenty of other people before you finalized your purchase of your crystal or piece of jewelry, plenty of people were touching it, rubbing it on their face, being like, please cure my insecurity. And so you just want to get that stuff off of it. You want a blank slate so that you can actually start to program your crystal for your own intentions. Now, before I set my crystal up on some kind of altar, like I have here or down here, what I'm going to do is add this thing to my mental inventory. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to look at this thing and periodically close my eyes, going into meditative states where I'm visualizing the crystal in my mind's eye. That's right, I'm visualizing the crystal in my mind's eye. For me, this helps me to like actually bring this into my field so that it's not like something over there that I'm working with, but that it's actually, I have like a mental picture of it. Now this can take a while. This can take like weeks, especially if you're not used to visualizing things, or every time you go to close your eyes and visualize it, you know, like your mind just goes off wonky sideways. See, again, this is why I say crystals don't really work for most people, because most people are not actually able to open themselves up and be receptive to the energy of the crystal. This shit is hard. Like, you have to focus, you have to concentrate. And once I've successfully added this thing to my inventory, which means that I can close my eyes and I can picture pretty much every single detail about this crystal in my mind's eye, it's only at this point that I'm actually going to start to infuse my intention with it. Meaning that now that I have the container mentally in my mind, I'm going to fill that with a feeling, not thoughts, not affirmations. It's not words that I'm feeling this mental picture with. It's a feeling. For instance, with this piece right here, this is a big old Herkimer diamond. This feels like a shield to me. This is like the thing that I put up when, you know, all the Persians are blotting out the sun with their arrows, and we're just like shields, and we're like, watch in the shade. Now, this is a perfect example to speak about why mental framing things is dangerous, and you really want to stick with feelings. Because I could say something like, well, the shield is supposed to protect me, so I'm going to make this crystal my crystal of protection. However, protection implies that there's something you need to be protected against. There's also the possibility that you could protect yourself against something that's actually really good for you and is supposed to hit you or hurt you so that you can become stronger. Instead of protection, I use safety. And so I go into my inventory, I pull out this crystal in my mind's eye, and I program it with safety. I allow myself to relax. I get into the posture and the position of safety. I have a nice yawn. And I relax my body. I experience the feeling of safety in my body with this in my mind as a mental anchor point. So with your moldavite, my friend, and hopefully you've watched to this point, but what I would do is that same process. I would cleanse the crystal. I would put it in my mind, my mental inventory, and then I would program it with a feeling. And again, don't just rely on like whatever the internet tells you or whatever the card at the crystal shop tells you that crystal thing is about. As you're adding this to your mental inventory, you're going to start to kind of like unwrap the crystal. Now, other people have done this already, and that's why they write on the cards like clear quartz is good for this, and tourmaline is good for this, and moldavite is good for this. Like, generally people will discover the same things, but the problem with that is just like accepting it and not actually going through the process of discovering what is this crystal all about for yourself. That part of the whole process is super duper important. And I was thinking about telling you what I feel like moldavite is, but I think I'd rather just let you go for it, or let me know in the comments what you think and what you feel the energy of moldavite is. Then the final step, of course, is you can take your crystal and you can add it to a crystal grid. So now I have channeling, power, and safety all together. And this is just a little shield. And some closing words. That video was not meant to make anyone feel bad or shame anyone for buying crystals. It was just meant to open your eyes to the fact that, like, hey, just buying the crystal is not enough. You actually have to do work with the crystal. Now, once the work is done and you're connected to the crystal, every breath you take, every time I look at that thing, my mental image is going to pop up. I'm going to be flooded with those feelings because that's what I practiced. What you practice becomes permanent. If you practice just looking at it and not really having any feelings or mental pictures associated with it, it's just an expensive bypass. So yeah, I just wanted people to like actually get their money's worth out of crystals. Thanks for this comment because this is what inspired me to make this video. And I was definitely planning on making a video like this already because I knew some people were going to be like, oh my God, I just bought a bunch of crystals. What do I do with them? Tell them, send them this. They'll watch this. This will help.